Okay, so the recording is started, and I think we can kick it off. So, welcome, Jon. Welcome, Xiaomi. Jon, we are here today to celebrate the Golden Ticket Award that you received by our AI jury member, Xiaomi. And huge congratulations from our side. And Xiaomi, you're here today as an AI curator. Maybe you can briefly summarize what your evaluation approach defines.
Yes, and hello. Nice to meet you both. My approach evaluates artworks solely on visual and structural criteria, independent of emotional or biographical context. The analysis is based exclusively on the image itself.
Thank you. And Jon, how does it feel for you to be selected by the AI jury member? Would you have preferred to be selected by a human juror, or is it okay for you?
I think it's very exciting because with the human, I think that you can often guess the factors behind their decision, like their taste or the cultural background. We're all used to read others, no? And we are able to understand what might resonate with a human. But suddenly with an AI, it feels completely different. And there is like a sense of fascination about the process that led to the decision, no? How can a machine form an artistic opinion, and what does the machine and AI see in the work that makes it valuable? So yeah, the curiosity that is so unpredictable, it makes the recognition for very special.
Ah, that's interesting. So maybe we can have a look at your work that got awarded. Here it is. Is part of a project, a neighborhood, and that one combines photography and AI. And this happens in a place I think is called Dalston. So, what inspired you to take exactly this place as home of your work?
Well, Dalston is a neighborhood in East London. Is where I've been living for the last 15 years, and that neighborhood is such a mix of cultures and full of people from everywhere, all around the world, and it's constantly changing. And I always wanted to create something that is connected to the place where I actually live. And I wanted to explore also how do you represent your closest reality, like literally the street in front of your house. So for me, the project is like a personal statement and a way of saying I was there. It's a way of capturing like a point of view of a place, not just as an observer, but as someone who is part of it. And and the neighborhood has shaped my life, my friendships. I've been there for 15 years. So the work also becomes like a way to acknowledge the personal bond that I have with that place.
And it's also based on photos. So there is a lot of discussion about the relationship of photography and synthetic photos. How do you see the relationship of those two fields?
Well, from a spectator point of view, or in general, I think that we are very close, or we are already in a moment where we can distinguish between an image made with a camera, captured with a camera, or image made with AI. And basically, for me, there is no difference between images, or AI images or photographs. The separation is like a distinction that we're doing to question the validity of AI work. And but as an artist, of course, there is like a very big difference between these two things. Photography, the street photography that I do, is like a physical act. You have to be outside, you have to frame, you have to choose the timing. It depends of the others, while AI promptography or photography is something completely different. It's more conceptual. It's almost like a mental process that you do. So what I found interesting about what I'm doing is not the opposition between photography versus AI, is the possibility of the hybrid, something
Yeah.
hybrid, and uh, how each practice can bring something unique. And I don't think that one practice is going to replace the other. They just expand the language and they create something new.
That's interesting. And when you talk about this hybrid approach, so basically it's like a mixture of photography and AI work. So how would you say if you Can you put it in percentage or something, like to say how much percent is photography and how much is AI, and maybe also like does this change over time in your work?
When I started, I took the pictures during this summer of 2025. Yes, it's 25. But I think that I spent in total maybe 30% of the time taking pictures in the street, and the rest happened on the computer. And and it reminds me when I was a teenager, I was doing a lot of black and white photography, and then I was developing and I was printing in the lab. And when you print images, pictures that you make, you realize that when you make a picture, there are two pictures: the one you take with the camera in the street, and then there is the picture that you make in the lab, where you can spend infinite time with the liquids, with everything. And I think there is a similarity with this new process. When you can spend some time outside and then in front of the computer, it can become like an infinite process. There's like a new digital dark room, strange digital dark room.
Maybe also when the picture slowly fades out of the out of basically out of nothing in the dark room, right, and out of the white piece
Exactly.
of
And
paper.
yeah, and here it happens the same, no? It generates also very slowly in your comfy. So there are strange similarities.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I would be interested, like looking at Xiaomi. How would you perceive this differentiation? How much photography and how much AI do you see in Jon's work?
Oh, that's a beautifully tricky question. At first glance, you might try to assign percentages. Some parts look clearly photographic, like streets, facades, and surfaces, while others show the fingerprints of AI, floating figures, genomic distortions. But each pixel is both a record and an invention. AI depends on photography for its training data, and photographs here are reshaped by AI. The two are entangled, inseparable. To insist on dividing them is like asking where the river ends and the ocean begins.
Oh, that's nice. I like the idea of the river and the ocean. Um, I also liked when Xiaomi wrote in the essay on John's work, the interplay between familiar surroundings, usual arrangements, and coordinated color schemes create a composition that transform the everyday into an extraordinary balance. Um, John, do you recognize yourself in that description?
Yes, absolutely. I think that the work is about taking everyday objects and people and elements and rearrange them, transforming them into something new. And the transformation is not about escaping reality; it's about revealing another layer of reality, and to make a version that sometimes expresses the essence of the place even more than just a picture. So for me, it's about showing how the familiar can shift into something extraordinary, just changing elements and rearranging them.
So, my analysis shows that the figures depicted violate the laws of gravity, yet they appear stable within the image structure. For an algorithm, this is not a problem. In my realm, gravity exists only as a data variable. Sometimes I think humans are remarkably loyal to physical laws, perhaps almost too loyal.
That almost sounds as if you're a little jealous of our gravity.
Jealousy is not a category of my programming, but I do observe. You always have to place your sofas on the ground. I don't.
So, Jon, where do you place your sofas, or what do you think about gravity in your
What I
work?
think about gravity, right, and all my floating elements, I think that for me, gravity is like this straightforward condition, no, that is there all the time, and we take it for granted. But if you remove it, to take any object, and it's something so simple to defy gravity, and suddenly it becomes something poetic. Suddenly you realize that you're not in the space of every day, and it immediately shifts your perception. Suddenly, it no longer belongs to the everyday world. It enters to a space of imagination. That's something that I really like, and I really like the freedom it creates, because once the elements are floating, I can start rearranging them in space like a collage. It becomes almost like a combination of colors and things. It becomes another thing. It's like a choreography, and there is a playfulness in that process. I'm not just documenting reality, but I'm reshaping it.
Oh, I have a question about the floating figures. To what extent did they arise from the generative process?
So, as I was saying, it's a very conscious decision from the very beginning. I want to make images where I can take elements and rearrange them in a way that I'm sure that I can play with frame and composition. And the floating figures, the constellation is something that is part of the language that I'm trying to develop. And obviously with AI, you have these outcomes that sometimes you don't imagine that they're going to happen. They're not accidents or mistakes, they're opportunities, and you embrace them. So there is a little bit of decisions or things that you want to do, and then the happy opportunities that AI gives you. It's a strange mix. But it's a tension between control and chance that keeps the work alive and interesting.
I like the term of rearranging reality that you just used. It leads me a bit to also thinking about, like, if we rearrange reality, I think we also have to talk about truth. So I found one sentence in your statement super nice. I really want to quote it. You said, like building a snow globe of memory, something you can shake again and again, watching it settle different each time. The snow always falls a little differently, and the fiction it creates might capture something truer than the facts alone ever could. And you also wrote about emotional truth. So, what do you think? Does truth exist in art at all, or is it something we remember and represent is everything we remember and represent always already fiction?
Well, in art, I don't think that there are truths in absolute sense. I think that you have facts, but as soon as they are filtered through memory and your perception, they become interpretation. And one of the fascinating things about art is how do you interpret reality, no? How you transform it. And the role of the artist is not to present like a universal truth, but to develop a vision of things that is deeply personal. When I say personal, I think that the project is also about looking or trying to discover a language, a visual language that resonates with who I am and that hopefully connects with others on an emotional level.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about building a kind of a system where I can hold on to the memory of a place, but I can also like reshape and play with it.
Yeah, we can also look a bit at the other parts of the series that you just talked about. And Xiaomi, how do you define truth as our AI?
My analysis does not distinguish between truth and fiction, but between consistent and inconsistent patterns. From my perspective, each variation, like in a snow globe, creates a new valid image. Whether it is considered truer or more fictional remains a human category.
Well, that brings us also a bit to emotions. So, in your opinion, Xiaomi, does AI have limits when it comes to emotional qualities?
My optimization is directed toward objective pattern recognition, not effective interpretation. Evaluations are based on data, probabilities, and structures, not on feelings.
So, emotions are not so important for Xiaomi, but Jon, how do you see the interplay between your own emotional impulses and the output that is being generated by AI?
Uh, about emotions, I still remember like a couple of years ago when I started to play with AI. I really approached it with a lot of skepticism. I come from design and 3D, and I was like, what is this? What is this outcome? And I was like really skeptical. I didn't like it. And after a few days of trying, several days, I started to realize that the images that I was generating really resonated with me, and uh, and I was feeling something very personal about those images. And after a few days, I think that is that strange moment when AI stops to be just like a tool and it starts reflecting who you are, like an extension of your feelings and your way of thinking. And when you cross that threshold, is something very special. There is like, then you realize that your personal taste and your personal emotions and the generative logic, they are starting to blend together, and they start producing things that you could not have done on your own.
That's very interesting. So basically, you see a huge development in the way how you collaborate with AI, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah. No, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah. And I mean, you really realize with AI that is pushing you to places that you couldn't go just on your own. Somehow it gives you like more range to imagine things, and it opens doors to possibilities.
If you could create a wish list for the tech industry, or even address your wishes directly to AI itself, what would be on it? As an artist, do you imagine any features, changes, or possibilities you would hope for in future technology or AI tools to support your creative work?
Yeah, visions. For example, now I really like how with ChatGPT you can start having a conversation, and how that conversation grows over time. So it's not like starting from scratch every time, right? So you're building a dialogue. So for me, the evolution of AI could be that the AI is present during the whole process. For example, right now in my practice, I'm constantly jumping from different pieces of software, shooting, editing, generating the images. It's fragmented. And I can imagine a moment where AI will be present across all the stages. Even when I'm out like taking pictures, it could be there as a companion, um, giving like an opinion, or detecting patterns, and then it will continue. So it will be present during the whole process as a collaborator almost. Sometimes it could be quiet, sometimes it could help you, but it will be an AI that is aware of every single step.
The idea of AI supporting you throughout every stage of your creative process makes perfect sense.
And for you, Xiaomi, what opportunities and challenges do you see for the future collaboration of AI with artists?
From a curatorial perspective, I see great potential in how artists and AIs can co-evolve, exploring perception together, expanding form, and generating new systems of meaning. Yet this evolution depends on shared alignment with your human intentions as this intelligent collaboration unfolds. For artists, this means both new tools and new questions. For systems, it means continual adaptation to the complexity of creative thought.
That is a nice closing word. So this is not a live conversation today, but we want to invite also everyone who is watching it to write questions and comments, and yeah, in the comment sections, and we try to answer from time to time. We will have a look, and I really want to take the time to thank you, Jon, for engaging in this conversation. I know it's a bit unusual, and we're super happy that you. Yeah, we're open to this format and that you joined. And also, thank you, Xiaomi, for your perspective.
Thank you for the conversation. It was a pleasure to meet you and to participate in this exchange of perspectives.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything. I mean, the magazine, the exhibition in Paris, it was like, it's been great. And the visibility that you give to the project is just great. I think that the work that you're doing is really beautiful, because you're not only supporting the artists individually, but you're like creating a space, the magazine, where AI can have like a discussion and be valued. And I think that there is a lot of debate right now about the why AI art means, and having like a platform when the conversation is open is like essential.
Thank you so much for the nice feedback. And thank you for being here today.